I had this big dream in 2018 to start a film festival in Redwood City because I love this city so much. And that dream sort of snowballed into starting a whole nonprofit called BraveMaker that exists to elevate brave stories for diversity and inclusion. And so we have a film festival and a monthly screening series, and we want you to come be a part of it. So our first event happened December 2018, and we had a packed house. Bay Area filmmaker Richard Levine was there to screen his film Collision. So we had a really awesome discussion. I'm looking forward to more of these every month. BraveMaker is looking for brave storytellers. We want to curate film screenings monthly, and we want to have transforming conversations about life's meaningful topics.
But I made the film hoping that even people that don't agree with me on everything, people who may be on the fence about this issue, there's a whole bunch of things that I think almost everybody can agree about.
And now we have to be able to speak, and we have to be able to give testimony and help those who don't have a voice and be their voice.
Amazing turnout for our sneak preview screening of Collisions with BraveMaker, and I was really happy to see the audience and to hear the way they reacted to the film. And super honored to be have as our sponsors Immigrant Rising and Catholic Charities. And yeah, just honored to be here, and looking forward to the festival in June.
So BraveMaker is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we exist on the generosity of our donors. So if you feel compelled to support the vision to elevate brave voices for diversity and inclusion, go to bravemaker.com today and become one of our BraveMaker partners. And to check out more of our events, to find out what screening is coming next near you.
Brave stories change the world!
Yes! Well, hey, welcome to our online version of that. It's kind of hard to believe that that was just a little under 2 years ago when we had our very first event, December 2018. BraveMaker started with the idea in April of 2018. Took us some months to kind of get going. We thought we were just going to do one film festival a year. Then it became a film screening and panel discussion every month. And now, because of our pandemic, we have been doing 7 straight weeks of film screenings and online discussions here on our Facebook Live chat. So thanks for joining us. Really excited to bring our filmmakers with us today, our Emerging Filmmaker Showcase. Before I do that, I just want to thank our sponsors. We cannot do this work without their support. So Premia LLC, downtown Redwood City, which is giving us the means to keep going, even though we're not doing our public film fest. They have continued to support us. Nikon gave us a grant to help do this work and grow, which has been really amazing because we have gained hundreds more subscribers, and we have been able to show more films than we could have if we were doing our 3-day fest, which was supposed to be this weekend. So shed a tear. We're going to keep moving through this and be okay. And finally, Redwood City Parks and Arts Foundation has continued to support us. And if we go back again live, you'll see them and all these sponsors' names then. So thank you. If you want to be a sponsor, please email me. We are still looking for people who support us and believe in this need for justice, diversity, and inclusion. You can give me an email at tony@bravemaker.com. All right, well, let's get our filmmakers in here. We have 3 filmmakers from all over the country who are calling. So I'm going to welcome each one of them. We have the filmmakers of What Kind of Day Has It Been?, Your So, and FortuneTeller. So let's start with Kiana. Kiana, tell us about your film. First, introduce yourself and tell us about Your So.
Hi, yeah, I'm Kiana. I'm a student filmmaker, sophomore in college currently. I live in Connecticut. I'm actually calling from Connecticut right now. And I made the short film called Your So, which is basically, it's a 3-minute iPhone film kind of about miscommunications in romance and maybe an imbalance in feelings and just a lack of communication.
Right on. You already got someone saying, "Yay, Kiana, Connie Joe." We
Hi,
see you,
Connie.
Connie Joe, one of the producers of the film, and we'll get more to that, both you and Tamar. Which let's hear from Tamar. Tamar, tell us about yourself and your film and where you're calling from.
Hi, my name's Tamar. I'm from Georgia, the country. And I'm calling from, yeah, it's a 50-50. You never know if you need to specify that or not. So I just specify it. Better safe than sorry. But I'm calling from Bennington, Vermont. Currently, I'm here for 2 more days. I'm in the state for 2 more days. And I go to the same college as Kiana. I'm a junior. I study filmmaking and theater at Bennington College. And I made the film FortuneTeller at the same time as Kiana. We did it in San Francisco at our internship with Charming Stranger Films. Hi, Connie. Hi, Cameo. Yeah, my film is about the experiences of people who move to another country for looking for a better life, maybe financially, maybe professionally, and that dreadful feeling of fragility of your residential status and not having agency in your actions or not knowing what's going to happen. So I tried to put that into a time-sensitive, time-bound art of 3 minutes. And yeah, it was also made with an iPhone. I had a lot of fun.
Cool. Good work to both of you doing things on iPhones and doing it in San Francisco. I love that. We'll get into more of that in a second. Kind of a theme of all 3 of you filmmakers are really big stories in a very short film. So thanks for making us think. I love short films. That's how I got my start as well. And let's invite our third and final filmmaker, Elijah Reynolds.
Hey, yeah, my name is, like you just said, Elijah Reynolds. I am in Los Angeles currently by way of Kansas City, Missouri. Moved here about 5 years ago, straight out of high school. My film is called What Kind of Day Has It Been? It focuses on 3 high school students who are going through their very stressful but completely normal day. Everything is entirely ordinary until it's not. It's about 10 minutes long, and it's been a passion project of mine for over 2 years now, actually.
So Elijah, why don't you just tell us a little bit about how it became a passion project for you? What the context, if people haven't seen the films, by the way, these were all available to our subscriber list. So if you're watching this and by any chance you did not see the films, I can share the films with you. They've all been provided password protected links from our filmmakers here. And you should definitely sign up for all the other free movies we're giving at bravemaker.com/buzz. But we will probably be talking a little bit of spoilers. So if that bugs you, then maybe you want to come and watch this on the replay. But otherwise, Elijah, why don't you share a little bit about this film, which is obviously very poignant based on where we are in our culture, the violence and trauma that many students live under, those who have experienced school shootings, but those also who haven't, who've read stories and seen the news footage. This is the content of your film. Let's hear about that, the backstory.
Yeah, so the it's not normal part, at a certain point, about 4 minutes into the film, there is sounds of pops. What really inspired this story was 2 things. One, watching the Parkland students talk about gun violence and how prolific they were and how great of political pundits they were at such a young age. I cannot emphasize enough how hard it is to actually eloquently speak on political issues like that, especially just out of high school. So I was absolutely enamored and wondering how they were doing it. And I read an article on Slate about how they were beneficiaries of this amazing extracurricular activity with student journalism, AP government, speech and debate. And I realized these were things I did. And I was really taken aback, like, oh, I've actually experienced a lot of these things. I've experienced everything in that short film up until the gunshots going off. And I really wanted to tell that story of how hard it is to be in the public education system and how stressful it can really be, how non-trivial it is, because you are thinking not just about that moment, but your future from 5th, 6th, 7th grade on. It's your entire life, but then there's this other stressor that can just come out of nowhere, and how devastating that really is.
Yeah, thank you. Those stories that we tend to gravitate toward BraveMaker tend to kind of scratch at this itch of injustices and what people can do about them. And your film definitely addresses mental health and the type of stressors that teenagers are undergoing. I went to high school at a very different time. I had stressors, but I never once feared for my life or had to walk through a metal detector. And so our students and our kids who are going through this culture, it's a whole nother ballgame for them. So thanks for bringing it to our attention through this film. I'm going to ask, speaking of political conversations, I'm going to ask Tamar to comment, because your film, FortuneTeller, has an element of that. Something that you are bringing to surface is the challenge of what it feels like to be someone who's in fear of being removed from where they are because of political ramifications. Can you talk a little bit about that when it came to why you did FortuneTeller?
Right. Well, for starters, I left home when I was 16 to study in the Netherlands on a scholarship. And then from then on, I moved to the US. So it's been quite some time now that I've been living with this feeling inside me. Thankfully, I've never been deported yet, I guess. But it's just, I felt like it was a story that I had to tell, but I also tried to avoid heavily politicizing my films or videos or any sort of art that I put out there, just because I tried to be sensitive about everything. So I wanted to tell that story of deportation, of fragility of residential status, of lack of agency, of fear, of loneliness, but through symbolic gestures and symbolic systems that I had created as a platform for me to be able to tell that story. So that is why I decided to have a fortune teller tell it instead of me telling it. And I also wanted to depict how time passes differently when you're always in a different place. Like, I feel like for me, I'm living two lives right now, one that is here and one that is back home. And time for me is always really sort of fuzzy and mixed in between. And I wanted to show that in the 3 minutes, time is kind of distorted. You're not really sure how much in life she's progressed at a point, because every prediction that the fortune teller makes suggests a time jump. So I wanted to also show that the weirdness of time that I've always experienced, that I've never really, not even today, really understand how time works. I don't know that anybody does, but
it's an illusion.
I've really been, fascinated by it. And I wanted to weave in those like political gestures in there, but also have it abstract and not necessarily on the nose of what I was trying to say.
Yeah, like both Elijah and you, I think, did a project in which was important to you, personal to you, but also speaks to a lot of the conversation that is happening in culture today. And we often hear that phrase sometimes as a pressure from our family. Don't talk about politics, don't talk about money, don't talk about religion. But what I see is that fear that we don't know how to talk about it, or we shouldn't because it's too divisive, has created a really unhealthy atmosphere for many of us. We should be talking about politics. We should be talking about religion. We should be talking about money. And films are such a great way to do that, because you put a little story out there, 3 minutes. By the way, love that it was in black and white. I thought that was a really cool thing. And side note for filmmakers, it's really great to make a film in black and white, because you don't have to worry about some of the lighting issues. It's so nice to be able to just put that out there. So way to go. But the one small thing I loved, I learned something like there's a country called Georgia. I felt so geographically challenged and illiterate. Talk a little bit about where Georgia is and what it's not just a state, in the United States. Talk about where you're from.
Yeah, of course, any chance I get of talking about Georgia, I do it. But Georgia is on the other side of Atlantic Ocean. It's sandwiched in between Russia, Turkey, Black Sea, Armenia, Azerbaijan. And fun fact, Georgian language is actually one of the 10 oldest alphabets and written and spoken language that's still functional today. We have a very rich tradition. I love my country. And I always try to use whatever I can of my past, of my upbringing into the new life. I mean, this is a horrible example, but the reason why it's also black and white is I was trying to aesthetically sort of match it to where I grew up. And I grew up in a very small city, all Soviet Union architecture, because Georgia was also part of the Soviet Union. And most of the color that I saw around myself growing up was gray or black and white. So I really tried to also emulate that into my film. But we have a beautiful language, amazing cuisine. If you ever get a chance to if this pandemic ever leaves us alone and you get a chance to go out to a restaurant, definitely find a Georgian restaurant and try our food and our wine. Amazing wine.
You heard it here. Georgia has great wine. Thank you, Tamar. Nessie says,
there's one takeaway from this. It's that Georgia has a great
that's right.
wine.
The one takeaway. Nessie says we miss you. So
I miss you too, Nessie.
Who's followed. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Tony Gapastione. If you're just joining on, I'm the founder, executive director of BraveMaker Film Festival. Everything is online because of the pandemic, but that's okay. We're talking about beautiful films, short stories, short films, but big stories. So our next filmmaker, Kiana, speaking of just beautiful films, you caught a really amazing shot on your short film called You're So. And I just love that San Francisco is one of the main characters, and you're highlighting a relationship, the complicated relationship between two women. Talk about that.
Yeah, we got really lucky with such a great location. We actually filmed on the roof of the Airbnb that the producer Connie Jo was staying in. So that was really cool to have. And it was sort of a surprise going in to shooting because I'd only visited the location once. So we didn't know like how the light, like really what the lighting would change over time. And we ended up with a really beautiful shot. So that was really great. And I was happy with the result because I wanted the light, like the daytime to progress because that was sort of a signifier of time changing throughout the story, like their relationship changing, because their relationship, I wanted it to be contained in one spot, but I wanted their journey to sort of progress as the sun went down until finally it's nighttime and things are falling apart. Yeah.
Talk about the story. What inspired you to write this and direct this story?
I think I was sort of thinking a lot about relationships that I see in college, where it's just sort of like a casualness that people have with one another, just a lot of bouncing around between each other. So I think I was kind of inspired by that. And I wanted to write something that was comedic and a little heartbreaking in the end. And I wanted to experiment a lot with the camera, sort of have a bit of fun with it. Like Tamar's one of the main characters in the film. So I had a lot of moments with her speaking to the camera, which is something I've been experimenting with for a while, trying to figure out different ways to do that.
Yeah, I love it. Tamar, you did a fantastic job. Just even your little looks, body language and stuff. I really appreciate that. I liked the editing. I liked the camera work. And for an iPhone, what did you do sound with?
We had a boom pole.
Yeah.
Attached to a Zoom.
It's really, really beautiful to think about how sometimes great things can emerge with really simple and minimal equipment and gear. And I'll pull in a comment from Robertino. He's one of our programmers and our assistant director. Great job on getting your passion projects out into the world, regardless of your resources. Thanks for sharing these relatable stories and your bravery. And just to anybody who's watching, this has been a theme for a lot of our conversations, is sometimes we wait too long. We wait for someone else to write the check or book us in their film or give us the permission to make our stories. But you can do a lot of great things on a really simple and small budget and tell big stories in a short amount of time. So great work on that. Let's hear about challenges. And I also welcome questions from those of you who are watching live. Well, we have, the ability for you to just type them in the posts as you're watching, and we'd love to address these filmmakers with whatever you're curious about on the making of their film. But I'm always interested in the challenges and the problems. Like, how'd you get the location, Elijah? What went wrong? How did casting go? Let's hear something that surfaces from the making of your and how you conquered it.
Yeah. So the location was actually quite an ordeal. Whenever I originally started putting together a budget for this, I really was thinking about back whenever I was making just very small things in Missouri. And I had access to whatever I wanted because it was a small town. I knew all of the educators. I could go in with a camera just about anytime I wanted. But this is Los Angeles. They make movies here and they want money for them. So literally, as I started researching the locations, I realized that it would cost about as much to film at a school as I had intended to fundraise for the entire project. So already there was that difficulty there. But what I really did after a while is I don't have the ability to say that I got to graduate in a college program or anything like that for filmmaking. So I really was able to use college funds for this film, as well as other things. And I really started to look at it as lessons rather than difficulties or obstacles, because every single thing that happened, I realized I'm living with a project from the very beginning inception to the very end of it. So every single thing that happened, I just realized was such a great lesson for me to take in about the entire filmmaking process.
That's good. So if I hear you saying correctly, you didn't go to college or didn't go to film school.
Mm-hmm.
You used those funds and put yourself through film school by actually making a film.
So basically, I had taken classes down at Santa Monica College and through UCLA Extension, and I learned a lot from both of those, but I just don't vibe with those types of educational institutions a lot of the time. So I had actually gotten a great opportunity to work in internships through UCLA Extensions, working in television development, and then eventually actually working in the industry as a assistant and creative executive, which was a great experience. And exactly what you were saying, I realized no one's going to give me permission, even though I have these great connections. No one's just going to write me a check. They have to see what I can do. And this was just one of those projects where I went, all right, I don't have a degree. This money is just sitting here. Why not teach myself or bet on myself and see if I can really do this? And I'm really proud of what it came out to.
It's cool. I like that. Bet on yourself.
Yeah.
So, Tamar, in that same vein of questioning, so what lessons would you say you learned as you made FortuneTeller?
Oh God, never film on a beach. It was horrible. But I think in terms of challenges, my experience was quite unconventional because I was really taken under the wing of Charming Stranger Films, and Cameo and Connie just guided both Kiana and I through the whole process. It was a 7-week-long process, and from workshopping our script with so many different writers and artists to casting to scouting locations. And a note, they did tell me not to film on a beach, but I had a vision. But yeah, I think the experience was really made easy for us because we didn't have to go through the fundraising process or getting our word out there. They really guided us through the whole thing and helped us out with any logistical issues. But I think, yeah, I mean, I joke about it, but truthfully, I think the biggest challenge was filming on the beach and the fact that we only had a day to film our films. And working with the sun, because I was only working with the sun. I didn't have any extra lighting equipment. So it was very time sensitive, and we had to make very strict schedules and shot lists, etc., etc. But of course, things come up. And there was a wind and it was freezing and my actors were freezing, and I was just so worried that I was putting them through a miserable experience that it was really hard to think as a director. But I had a great cast and I had amazing crew, Kiana and 2 other interns, and they really helped me through the whole process and gave me the space to think as a director and not think logistically as to like, oh my God, my actors are freezing and they're getting buried under the sand. What am I going to do? But yeah, I think that was the most challenging aspect of it all. But I think it's very important to have a team that you can rely on and you can trust. Very important to have people you can go with questions or any issues. And I had Cameo, I had Connie, and I had an amazing team. So I was lucky, very lucky for our first film project.
Good for you. Team is super important. That, again, probably one of the top, if not top 3, number 1, besides having a good story, is the people, the crew that you surround yourself with and that you link arms with, because they will make or break not only the project, but you as a director and a filmmaker. I want to pull up, Cameo was one of our filmmakers last year. She was on one of our promotional pieces. Cameo Wood, she had a film called Real Artist last year that screened in the Bay Area program last year. And so great to meet Cameo and connect with her. She's got a production company and intern program in San Francisco, and they really focus on empowering women, LGBT, non-binary artists. So if that's something that's interesting to you, you should look up Charming Stranger in San Francisco. It's cool. Thank you. Kiana, what about you? What lessons surfaced for you? Things that you learned? I love hearing things you would do different. Sounds like Tamar's never going to film at a beach again. What kind of things will you never do again, or do you want to make sure you do based on what you learned?
I think the hardest thing for me was writing the script. Actually, I didn't finish the script until the very last minute. Like, out of all the interns who were also, working on their scripts and stuff, I had 2 different scripts. Like, I originally started with a completely different story, and then last minute I pulled that and then appeared with a completely different script the next day. And Cameo almost killed me for that, but we found that we liked the script because I realized that I wanted to just write something that was fun and that would make me laugh and just sort of like be amusing and entertaining. But yeah, I think script writing was really hard for me. My focus is more in documentary films, so I typically don't go for script writing type work. And if I do, I prefer to have someone else write the script. So I think in future projects, I'll try to focus more on the directing aspect of it, because that's the part that I tend to enjoy more, I think.
I love hearing that. I think there is a lot of pressure to do everything. And as an independent artist, that sometimes tends to be what you have to do. I was just thinking today, even running BraveMaker, as a nonprofit, we're still a startup. We're not even, fully 2 years old yet, but I was laughing, like, I have to be social media manager, producer, executive director, bookkeeper, all these things that I have to do to make it. And that's really just what it feels like to be an independent filmmaker. But I love that you can identify, like, you know what, directing is probably where I should spend my effort, because the writing part sucks the life out of me. And the great thing is there are screenwriters out there who do not want to get behind the camera. They do not want to be directing. So that's a really cool thing, is find your tribe. So if you're hearing this and you feel like you're in one or the other, that's great. Just find the other person who you can link arms with. It's so, so important. Again, my name is Tony Gapastione. I'm the executive director of the BraveMaker Film Fest. We're online today with 3 emerging filmmakers talking about their films, big stories, short films. We have a few more minutes. If you have any questions about these films or filmmakers, please go ahead and put it in the chat, and we'd love to address those. But we'll just end with, so what's next for you all? What kind of things, stories? Do you have any projects in the work? Let's start with you, Elijah. What do you want to talk about? What's next? And we'll end with where people can find you. So keep that in mind.
Oh, fun. Yeah, I have a couple of things going right now. I am trying to find my own way into a screenplay. But actually during this, funny enough, if you've seen the movie, or even if you've looked at the screenshot from the first bit of it, there is Aubrey Picer. She's who plays Cassie in my film. She also was an associate producer on the film. I've been producing 2 screenplays that she's written while in quarantine. that I am really excited. They're both features. Really, really excited to be working on those and come up with strategies on how to get that made.
Fantastic. And Elijah, where can people find you on Instagram?
Instagram should be at Reynolds Elijah D.
At Reynolds Elijah D. You can see his name right there. If you want to find him, go shoot him a follow. That'd be fantastic. Tamar, what's next for you? I know you're going back home to Georgia the next few days, so we're glad we got you before you take off. But what kind of projects do you have coming up next?
It's actually very exciting because I finally get to make something back home because I was never really there for enough time to make something. And now it looks like I might be stuck there until the next spring term. So I'm working with my friend who's also an artist, is a printmaker, who lives in Istanbul, on making a documentary about the LGBTQ rights in Tbilisi and Istanbul. So it looks like we might be splitting our time and filming a documentary in the two cities. But I'm also workshopping a script for a follow-up, not a sequel, but sort of similar symbolic structures as you see in the FortuneTeller, into another short film, which would be Gambler. So instead of having a fortune teller tell the story would be told through a game of dice. So I'm really excited about that as well. But much like Kiana, I don't like writing scripts that much. So I'm really trying to push through that phase right now. But I'm very excited for what's to come. And you can find me on Instagram. My handle is GEO_Pixie.
Fantastic. I want to say that idea of having a series of films with that kind of vein sounds really cool. Fortune Teller, Gambler. I mean, what's next? Like Prophet. I don't know. Something would be cool. I think that's a cool way to kind of express your brand. I really like that. Cool.
Thank you. I'm also very excited.
Yeah, we'll look forward to seeing what's next. And what about you, Kiana?
Well, me and my friend, since once school finishes up, I think we're going to try to collaborate on something together, with him writing the script and me doing the directing. So hopefully that will happen sometime during the summer. Not sure what it would be about yet, since we're still waiting for school to end, but I think that will definitely happen.
And where can people find you?
My Instagram handle is at OKKiana.
And OKAY Kiana. Awesome.
Yes.
Well, you're getting some love. Kiana's the best. You're amazing. Tamara is great. I think I heard up here for you, Elijah. Amaris says that message is so needed, I believe, for regards to your film. So keep doing your work. Deja says yes. I love that, with a bunch of S's and exclamation points. So you're getting shown a lot of love. Keep going. Keep being brave makers. We're so glad that we could select your films and talk with you today. And I hope we get to see what you do next. So remember, BraveMaker is here for you. And if you're watching this and have any more questions or comments, please just go ahead and follow along these filmmakers on their Instagram handles. As independent filmmakers, we really rely on the audience to share our work and to support. And especially now, during this difficult time where productions are put on hold, we don't know when the next thing is going to happen. Same with BraveMaker. We don't think there's going to be any public film festival experiences for the rest of 2020. We don't know. So keep supporting these efforts that we're doing here online. And Kimberly Joy says, congrats to all. I say the same thing. Congrats to all. Thank you, all three of you, for being here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So final words. Thank you so much for the audiences for hanging with us today. If you, again, did not see these films, please let me know. I would happily send you the links because they've entrusted them to us already. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we appreciate all of your donations that can be tax deductible. The cool thing is, during all of May 2020, our grantor, the Jacques M. Littlefield Foundation, is doubling all of the donations up to $25,000. So if you believe in our work, if you believe in this vision to elevate justice, diversity, and inclusion through film and storytelling, then please go to our website, bravemaker.com, and you can donate today. Or you can just pick up your phone and do it by texting the word BraveMaker to 44321. That's 321. Text the word BraveMaker, and you can donate right through your phone. So thanks so much. Brave stories change the world, and you are the story. All right, till next time.